Welcome to the 10-minute live spark. I'm your host, Olivia Odolake, and it's another fabulous day in the middle of July, and I'm happy to have you here with me today. And we're going to jump right in. Let's do our little 10-minute spark. I'm playing around with my audio, and so I was just trying to figure out a new way of doing things, a new way of doing things. Because one of the reasons I'm hosting this program is to help educators spark more curiosity in the classroom. And today we're going to talk about questions, but instead of focusing on questions we would ask students, I want you to think about the questions you ask yourself before you design a lesson. Before we ask our students questions, we have to start by asking ourselves better ones. So let's jump right in it. I have 6 basic questions that I ask myself before I create a lesson. So we're going to go over those questions, and then I'm going to do a think aloud as if I was a middle school social studies teacher teaching a topic. Okay. So the first question I want to ask myself is, what do I want students to wonder before I tell them anything? What do you want students to kinda be like, that's interesting. I never knew that." Like, what do you want them to wonder before you tell them anything? Because again, part of the shift with the curiosity-based, framework is that we wanna focus on discovery before delivery. The second question is, what part of this concept naturally connects to something students already care about? So now we want to make it personal. We want to touch them here. We want to think about, how can I connect this to something students already care about or relates to them in their day-to-day life. So you want to think about social media. We want to think about real world topics and dilemmas, and even gaming, because we know the majority of our students are playing a lot of games. And there's so many different types of games that might be able to correlate to that lesson that we are delivering. Number 3, what would surprise me if a student asked it back to me? So, what types of questions can you anticipate a student might ask that might actually surprise you? And this, again, is something as a teacher we love because it reveals the depth or the surface of the topic. So, what would surprise me if a student asked it back to me? So, that's some real thinking right there. And that's going to also prep you for the lesson. And number 4, am I creating a space where students feel safe to not know something out loud? This is when you really, really know curiosity is thriving, when students don't care about getting the right answers anymore. When it's more about what they're observing, what they're thinking, and they feel safe to share it. Because curiosity truly thrives when students are mentally safe. It's not a physical safety, it's a mental safety. And we create that safety by not desiring answers, but more desiring discussion, desiring input. And so, again, you want to think about, am I creating a space where students feel safe to not know something out loud? Number 5, if I could use slides or notes, how would I get students interested in this idea? So again, if you're going to, a lot of us still use slides or PowerPoint or Google Slides, but how am I going to use it where I'm not, again, just giving them information, but I'm going to allow them to get interested in this idea? So we want to strip it back because we're trying to get to the spark. That's really what we're trying to do. What are they going to wonder? Do they feel safe? What is a question they could ask that could surprise me? How can I use my notes or my slides to help guide them to things that they're interested in? And again, how is this going to relate to them? And last but not least is number 6. What It's one what if or why question I can ask before the content begins. So, again, if you're new to creating curiosity based lessons, just number six could be something. What's what if or a why question I could ask before the content begins, before I start delivering content? And again, these would be like my signature micro inquiry tasks. Tons of examples in the Spark Curiosity Guide to Quick Inquiry Task book to ask those what if, ask those why questions, and give students tasks. So now we're just going to spend about 2 minutes walking us through a teacher think aloud. Again, I am a middle school social studies teacher, and I'm about to teach a lesson on civilization, ancient civilizations. So before I dive into the standards and the slide decks, and because a lot of curriculum books now come with slide decks, I'm going to pause and I'm going to ask myself a few questions to help me design this through a curiosity first lens. So, question one: what do I want students to wonder before I tell them anything? Instead of just starting with, here are the characteristics of a civilization, I want them to wonder what makes a civilization rise or collapse. Could ours collapse one day? The way things are going, they might have a lot of input on that one. What happens when a civilization disappears? I could start with a mystery, ruins. I could bring in an artifact or even a broken statue with no context. Just let them look at it, let them wonder, what do you think this came from? What are some of the clues, make it a mystery. The brain is going to be sparked and activated. Question two: what part of this concept naturally connects to students? Well, they love video games. I'm thinking Fortnite, Minecraft, because a lot of times in those games, they get to build worlds. So where they can build a world or survive. And I could frame it like this: imagine you're designing your own civilization, your own world, your own, country. What would you need to make it survive? So they get an opportunity to tap into their interests, but then we are still anchored in the topic, but it's relating to something that they care about. So what are some surprising questions? Well, what if a student asks, why did some civilization last thousands of years while others disappeared quickly? That's an excellent question. So maybe I can design the lesson to inspire that question. So, how could I get a student to ask that kind of question? Well, maybe I give them two civilizations and let them compare the outcomes and ask them to analyze, what do you think happened? Just by showing them a visual and showing them a difference between the two. Number four, am I creating a space for students feel safe to not know something? So I'm making it an open activity, low stakes. I'm going to use visual inquiry. I'll show an image of a ruined city and I'll ask them, what do you think happened here? No right answer, just I want them to wonder. And that lets them enter the content without fear. So many students are afraid to go into the content because they're afraid. They're afraid of getting the answers wrong. And we put so much energy on answers versus questions. Five, if you need to use slides, I'll walk in holding maybe a strange object and say, this was found buried deep in the earth. What do you think of it? Who might have used it? What does it tell us about the people who lived here? Let me build a story before I reveal anything. Let them build a story before you reveal anything. So now the brain now has a gap and it wants to learn more. And last but not least, the what if or the why questions. What if your civilization suddenly lost its water sources? What if another group tried to take over? Why do civilizations leave things behind that still we study thousands of years later? Why are we still interested in these things? These are great ways to help build. This took me less than 10 minutes, but now I have a lesson that starts with curiosity. It connects to students' interests and it opens the space for deeper thinking. It's not about throwing out the standard, it's about approaching it through the spark of inquiry. So I'm going to encourage you, teachers, just pick one of those six questions to reflect on before your next lesson. You don't need a new curriculum to spark curiosity. You just need a new lens. With that, I'm going to end tonight's program with the song, a new song I just was inspired to write. It's called Just Imagine. And this song, I wrote this song because I think we need to really imagine the way we want our classrooms to look and feel. We keep complaining and we keep talking about what's not working out right, but have we imagined the possibilities? Have we imagined what we really want to see in the classroom? And I wanted to share a couple of the lyrics with you. Just imagine the spark that starts it all. There's a glow in their eyes when the question is real, when the lesson becomes more than just what they feel. A whisper of wonder, a curious thought, and suddenly every moment is caught. They're not just learning, they're alive in this every new what if they're setting the pace. You see, facts fade fast, but the spark will remain when the heart of a child ignites their brain. So just imagine what a question can do. Turn the why into wow, make the old into new. Just imagine how they rise when they've seen, when we teach with a purpose and a dream with a dream. Oh, just imagine curiosity calling. Just imagine young minds never falling. Wonder is the way. Let the classroom shine, light up their future, one spark at a time. So, this is just a little sample of the song, Just Imagine. I hope you enjoy it. And I'll
Just
see you next
imagine.
on the 10-minute live.
Yeah.
Gonna imagine with my sunglasses
Just
on.
imagine, yeah. Just imagine the spark that starts it all. Ooh, there's a glow in their eyes when the question is real, when the lesson becomes more than just what they feel. A whisper of wonder, a curious thought, and suddenly every moment is caught. They're not just learning, they're alive in the space. With every new what if, they're setting the pace. You see, facts fade fast, but the spark will remain when the heart of a child ignites their brain. Just imagine what a question can do. Turn the why into wow, make the old into new. Just imagine how they rise when they see. When we teach with a purpose and dream with a dream. Oh, just
Just
imagine
imagine.
curiosity calling. Just imagine your mind's never falling. Wonder is the way, let the classroom shine. Light up their future, one spark at a time. It's not just a job, it's a heartbeat of flame. We're architects of joy, not just names in the game. A simple shift from deliver to discover, and the quiet kid starts asking like no other. They're building bridges with thoughts they design, solving problems while laughing in rhyme. So don't just teach, be the guide on the ride. Let imagination sit right by your side. Close your eyes and see a room where every child is free to wonder, to ask and explore, to feel like the world is an open door.
We got some more lyrics again in the Unleashing Curiosity book. Again, I have 13 original songs. Close your eyes and see a room where every child is free to wonder, to ask and explore, to feel like the world is an open door. Let's imagine together. Thanks for joining us. We'll see you next week on the 10-minute Live Spark.